Hello.
Hey, Doreen, I'm just letting in. I think it says Anthony Nash, but I think it's Krista.
I think so too. That
Okay.
Anthony's name has been on the People First the last couple times I've signed in. Because
I know, so it kind of messes me up. I'm not sure if we've got Anthony or Krista here.
I'm pretty sure it's Krista.
Krista, is that you?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
She's like, is Anthony Krista? I was like, well, she was last night. So
Okay,
I like to keep it interesting.
I'm making co-hosts, and then I'm going to go on mute. And Krista, did you get my text about Julie Clark having something that she wanted to add? I didn't see anything in your slides about asking AAC users if they had contributions, but just want to make sure that was on your radar.
So I think that we're going to do a what works, what doesn't. And I think that would be a good time to share that, and I can type it in. And then Eric is going to help me facilitate that while I type. And then Doreen, sorry, I know I've been stalking a couple of you. I'm going to resign my role of co-facilitator today.
Okay.
So what you both don't know is some of that feedback from DRW and that situation that happened. I was a perpetrator. I was in the meeting sick of talking about voting rights. I have a huge baggage from working with people as they turned 18 for a decade and feeling like, you know, I watched people's rights get stripped away, but the only one people was special was voting, while every other thing in their lives got taken from them. And I let my stuff take over and behave badly in the meeting. And so I'm going to own that. I'm going to step down, and hopefully somebody can fill my spot. And so hopefully that also helps dissolve some of the stuff going on.
Well, Krista, is there a way for you to own it but not step down? Because we all have stuff, and we all have baggage, and we all have trauma. Each of us have unresolved trauma, and we're going to cause harm to one another. And I just wonder.
But I think that, you know, with the level of power dynamic, I think it's really appropriate for and necessary for me to do that. Because nobody else has held me accountable to that. In fact, if I hadn't even read it in the letter, it just would have been one more thing that happened that I hadn't really considered or thought of my influence. Plus, I mean, look at us, you know, it would be really nice to get some diversity in this mix. And Adrienne, I'll still do all of the commitments that I've already committed to. So, you know,
and I'll say, Krista, hats off to you. I'm very impressed with that response, and I think that's going to be a really graceful and beautiful way to address things in this meeting. And I trust your decision making, whatever that is, right? Because you get to decide your own conscience, and that's totally fine.
Yeah, I think this is the right way forward for me and for the group. And Adrienne,
if whoever shows up, and I mean, if I have another white parent show up and say, you know what I mean? Like, I just want to say, like, it doesn't mean.
I know. Well, and in my intention to like co-facilitate with the People First group intentionally, I chose to co-facilitate with you, and I probably should have chosen to co-facilitate with a self-advocate, because the purpose or my intention behind it was, look how well we can work and play together, right? If we just like find the common ground. That was my intention, and blindly forward, you know, chose another white woman, right? Which is a blinder of privilege.
That's all right. And I am a self-advocate, you know.
Exactly.
But that doesn't mean of course we all have, you know, the disability contest is never a good one to pull out.
No. And I just mean like, my lens was limited, right? Because
it's
I
been
feel
a great
very
experience.
comfortable with you.
I do too. Yeah. It's that whole comfort zone thing amongst.
All right. Well,
like-minded people.
I'm not going to go anywhere, Adrian. I was not at this meeting. I have not had the opportunity to watch it all the way through. I kind of skimmed the video looking for the comments of another person, but I didn't watch it in totality. Yeah. I will.
I'll send it to you. I'll send it to you. I mean,
yeah, hopefully we can get him up on the website. I really took the time this morning to try to find it as well, because I wanted to. Very rarely do you screw up and hurt somebody and then have the opportunity to step outside of yourself and watch it from a third person perspective after the fact.
Which is a huge part of what I love about this process and its transparency. So
yeah,
for it being that. Adrian Stewart, you're here again. You're
this is my colleague Julie Clark has joined me at my house today. Julie. So she might be on my same system. So I've logged in from another.
There are 30 people in the waiting room.
Oh my God, my polling
start in 1 minute.
How does this happen? Because it says my polling session is inactive.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I don't know if I'm all ready for this with slides and polling. You know, Doreen, I wish we had met at a time. I'm a little concerned, but hopefully we will wander through it. So feel free, you guys, to hop in, because I didn't ask, a lot of this I didn't ask permission on. I was,
I looked at the slides. I think it's beautiful based on our very short conversation last night that I had to run from to run my other meeting. But
okay.
So, all right. Okay, so it's time to
the only poll that I built is for the legislators.
Okay. And I don't have a slide for that. So hopefully you're comfortable just popping in.
I totally.
So you have, and Doreen, are you logged into my account? You can't be logged into my account. Okay.
No, I logged in as me.
I'm going to go off camera, you guys. Thank you. See you soon.
Okay. Thanks.
All right. Should I put my background people first on?
Yeah. Are we going to is she going to co-host us?
She said
it looks
did,
like Blake, but you're signed in as Adrian too.
Yeah, you're going to need to rename. I'm glad you're here. Do we want to spotlight people ever during this? Or just keep the slides up and talk through it?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
I'm a fan of seeing all the faces so that if there's somebody, waving.
You guys, why does Blake have my name?
Because he's been going in to look at the recordings, and so he's still signed into your account.
Okay, Blake, I need to make sure you're signed out of my account, or else the polling isn't going to work.
Oh, yeah.
Can you just make super sure you're in your account and not mine?
Yeah, Zoom just automatically signs you into whatever one you were in last, and he was probably working on.
Oh yeah, that's the problem. Yeah. Okay, all right. See you soon. Right. I'm shutting up now.
Is your polling back?
Well, it should be as long as somebody else isn't signed into my account, the polling should work. So
it was the third poll in this meeting, so I just want you to be aware of that.
Okay, all right.
Because I can't launch the poll because you're the host.
Okay, all right. Thanks, Doreen.
Okay, thanks.
Okay, start letting. Do you want me to let everyone in? I'm going to let everyone in, but you're co-hosts.
I'm admitting everyone. Let's go. Here we go. Hi, everyone. Sorry, we were having a little bit of technical difficulty starting up today. Sorry about that. Just letting everybody in right now.
Hi.
Hello. Happy Friday, everyone. The weekend's almost here.
Good afternoon, everybody.
Hi, Kyle.
There. Let me get my thing on the background.
If you can, as always, please try to put your name and your affiliation or your status or your hello in the chat, so we just have a good idea of who's here and representation. If you need assistance to do that, go ahead and let us know and we'll do that. Hi, Julie. Thank you.
Yeah. Understood. I hear you.
Yep, we hear you, Julie.
Yeah.
Lots of people coming, so I'm just trying to get everybody admitted. Hello, lovely community. It's so good to see all your faces, even virtually. And names and chats.
And Darian, you know where I live, so I don't need to tell you.
You're great, Kyle. Thanks. Just letting us know you're here is wonderful. All right.
Yeah.
All right, we have quite a crowd today. Welcome, everyone.
Yeah. We do.
Thank you so much for all the work that you've all been doing in your work groups, and thank you for being here on a Friday lunch hour. It has been a busy month. I feel like fall is already here. Is anyone else feeling that way? It's only August 12th, but it's like we're already fully engaged.
The 13.
All right. Krista, are you going to pull up the PowerPoint, or did you want me to do that? Or Adrian, are you running that?
I would be happy to pull up the PowerPoint, but just so everyone knows, I'm horrible about presenting and then figuring out how to go through the slides. So you'll probably see the slide deck on the left. Forgive my PowerPoint
totally fine.
skills.
We're all at different levels of technological, ability here, and that is acceptable.
That's right. I'll share my Zoom knowledge if somebody shares their PowerPoint. Okay, so I'm going to share my screen. Oh, we still got people coming in. This is great. So, all right. So here we are. Hopefully everyone sees this. So what is our North Star? Awesome. Is where we're at today. And then some of these slides will look familiar. Welcome back. I am one of your co-facilitators. I'm Krista Melhofer with People First of Washington, and my co-partner in this endeavor today.
Hi guys, I'm Doreen Vandervoort. I live in Pierce County. I'm a mom. I am lucky to work for the wonderful parent-to-parent program here, and excited to be a part of this process with everyone.
And a reminder to myself. I am in front of a virtual background, People First of Washington, and I am in my early 40s with glasses. I'm a white female, and I get to do this work for pay, which is amazing. And then Doreen, do you want to?
Yeah, my name. So this is Doreen. I have dark hair with a bun and a headset on. I'm a 40-year-old white female. I'm wearing a blue sweater and against a white background and my closet door because we're all working from home. And yes, also privileged to be paid to do this fabulous work and be a part of this community. So.
Okay. Housekeeping, we really hope people can be present. Part of being present is, cameras on, being able to see each other, support each other. Normally, we would do breakouts. We're actually going to take a break from breakouts today. That was the plan up until earlier this week. So we have taken a shift to our agenda. So I'm going to be sharing that next. So we're going to be talking about where we're at in the North Star process. Then Doreen is going to share a poll, and hopefully we'll be getting information by the end of today on who's going to be our bill sponsors. So that's really exciting.
We just took all of the voting that happened already and brought forward the top 3 candidates in each question to a poll today to ensure that as many people can be heard and that whole process is very open space. So I just wanted to make sure that individuals who maybe had difficulty getting into the Google poll will still have an opportunity to share their preference today in a poll that will launch live here in our Zoom.
And then we're going to introduce our new co-facilitators, and then we're going to be addressing some concerns that have arisen and talking about some proposed changes to our process, and to see if there are people here that are willing to help our community move forward. And then we're going to end out today with reminders on what we're doing here from Adrian. So let's get started. I'll get started with the reminders of where we have come from. And then
sorry to interrupt you, Krista, but it looks
Go
like
ahead.
Diane Staton had her hand up.
Thank you, Eric. I missed that. I don't see
No
it.
worries.
I'm asking about going back to the sponsors. Now, have those people have not been approached yet? They're just who we would like to approach, not who necessarily will sponsor the bill.
Correct. Yes,
Okay.
we really wanted to create a very open process, so it wasn't just a group of people kind of choosing bill sponsors because they have relationships or know them well, but that everyone in the community got an opportunity to put forward a name and also then to vote on the names that were put forward by the community groups. So
Well, I just wanted to clarify that because when it came up in the PowerPoint, it was said, this is who will sponsor our bill. And I just wanted
no. We're just voting for people to approach. Yep. And there's 4 categories of prime sponsor and second sponsor in both the House and the Senate in our poll, which you'll see when we launch it. Go ahead, Krista.
all right, thank you. That was important clarification. Thanks for the question, Diana. So where we've been, you know, this started in January with Donna and Ross, really starting the brainstorming process, and we moved in to our spring quarter with Moses and Katie, where we're really trying to get people together and understand these buckets and what should be in the buckets and what kind of things need to be addressed in order for our community to thrive. And now we're in, oh my gosh, we're in August. And so we're talking really about finalizing, figuring out what's missing from problems and solutions, and really making sure that we can make everybody's voice get included and written down, and that remind everyone we're not prioritizing, and there will be processes coming up in the future where we'll be honing and identifying things, and that process isn't now. We're still just collecting and making sure that we're moving forward and getting everything into the Google spreadsheet. Now, there is a vote scheduled right now in October, and that is where there is a process of actually coming back to this group as a whole community and saying, okay, this is what has come out of the work of the last 10 months. Is this what our community agrees on that needs to go forward for a bill? So this voting process, I'm not going to talk a lot about that because quite frankly, I won't be here. There will be new facilitators, and that is still how that is going to play out is still, of course, at play. We still need to just identify our prime sponsors that you all want to approach, and also making sure that we have the Google Docs ready and everybody's interest there. So current co-facilitators are for transportation bucket are Soretti and Francie, housing John, Mike, and Kathy, caregiving Julie and Amal, day services Ivanova and Kelly, systems accessibility Emily and Kelly, schools Kieran, welcome, Magdalena and Soretti.
So I think day services is actually going to be Ivanova and Sandy. That was like a last second change. Sorry about that.
All right. All right. And then healthcare. Do we still not have people for healthcare?
That's right. We're still needing a couple people to step up and take over co-facilitation duties for the healthcare committee. So if you're interested in that, please ping me.
And then Robert, I see your hand up. Is it because you're volunteering for healthcare co-facilitation?
Yeah.
Okay. So that's awesome. I have a Robert Wardell. Is there any other brave soul out there who wants to take on the healthcare system within a North Star work group?
I was co-facilitating 3 different groups last time. I rather see somebody else take it, but if push comes to shove, I can help Robert out. But that's only if somebody else doesn't, if somebody else does not step up.
Okay. All right. And remember, it's always great to reach out to people you know that are passionate about this that couldn't make it here today. We'd love to invite them into this community and participate as a co-facilitator. Moving on, hopefully, Doreen, you can keep looking for hands.
Yep, I'm watching for hands and
all right.
comments. I think
All
Sandy's name is spelled with an I. It's the Sandy
Ah.
Kuberg. That's okay though. I can
Okay.
fix that.
All right, thank you. All right, and then civil rights, Craig and Eric, and then the large group, Doreen. And then we're going to be looking for a large group co-facilitator to take my place. So on the next slide, many of you have seen the emails that went out between the DDC and DRW. And I have some work that I need to do in this situation. Right here, it says there was part of the comments to put this and make this public was at a civil rights subgroup meeting. The topic of voting rights was brought up as a potential issue for consideration, and it was articulated that this issue was important to Black, Indigenous, people of color, disabled communities. This idea and individual were shut down by the group, causing harm. Several advocates responded to the idea by being dismissive and saying things like voting rights are not the first thing brought up as a concern by people with disabilities. There was not recognition of how BIPOC people and communities were not being represented meaningfully by those comments, nor in the meeting itself. Ross, I see your hands up.
I was at that meeting and I did not have any experience or anything aware of any that because I was involved in that meeting, and there is no thing we did talk about the voting, but you have to understand that in that meeting, other people are really real or heated debate. So it's like I understand how she feels, but I also know that I also know that other people were going on the win. And we have a lot of stuff to talk about. Voting right is just one of the issues, but other than that, it's like we have a lot of other things like DDA and the IQ issue is the biggest issue within the civil rights, and that is more focused on DDA on the Civil Rights Act, because I was there and I was trying to talk about civil rights in the DDA and IQ issue. So it's like other people are really getting on other topics than voting rights. So yeah.
Thank you for sharing that perspective, Ross. It's so good to hear a voice from those who are there.
Yeah, I wanted to share that I was also there. I have a lot of, as many of us have in this community, when we're working in a system that has been impacted by ableism and many other isms, that I have a lot of baggage, particularly from transition, being around and helping people transition into the from school to work and in that 18-year-old range. And so some of my baggage around guardianship and voting rights and what happens in conversations around 18 is one of my buttons. And Ross, I was also there, and actually I want to acknowledge that I feel like this situation really stemmed from me. You know, as a professional in that community, I did not behave well, and I wish I could say that I realized my impact to the individuals present at the time, and really felt the harm that I had caused in silencing somebody else's voice with my own at, you know, at the time, this kind of blind feeling of righteous indignation that I was spilling over into other people with my own stuff. But that wasn't fully the case, and it wasn't until I thankfully read the notice that I truly realized the impact of what my actions had done within that group. So as a part of holding myself accountable, I just wanted to issue a public apology, and I hope the individuals that were impacted do see it, as well as everybody else here. And I'm going to be stepping back in my role as co-facilitator for this large group. And I hope somebody else is able to step in, and this can begin kind of a healing process for this group, where we can really come together and focus on this collective work together and move forward. So I don't want to start a huge group discussion around this. I think this is really something that is a place for personal, professional, and public accountability. And that said, we're going to continue on this meeting and with the next process of really addressing some of the concerns, hopefully, that we have as a community, and problem solving with what is working and what doesn't, so that we can continue to build a more inclusive, impactful space for our group. And so in the spirit of some of that, I've already gotten some input
Krista, we've got a hand from John Lemus. So
Self Advocates. All right, John.
So I don't know if this is the time to address some of the concerns that DRW had in their email, but I do have some comments.
I feel like we're gonna have some open space conversation, John, and Krista was about to just kind of walk through some of the comments that came out of a self-advocate feedback safe space conversation. So yeah, now is totally an appropriate time. We're kind of transitioning to a conversation about problem solving and what's working and what's not working. So please share.
So I think that some of the concerns that DRW raised are valid. I think that as we talk about equity and social justice, a lot of the people that should be at this table are not at this table. And I think that moving forward without those individuals at the table is going to be detrimental to the work that we're trying to do. You know, it's hard for me because I don't see a lot of diversity in this room. I mean, if all of you just scroll through the gallery, you will realize that the BIPOC community is not well represented within these meetings. And it's very difficult for me, and I don't mean to sound like an asshole, but I don't want these discussions to continue to be an afterthought.
Yeah.
Thank you, John. That's really reflective of, I think, some of the feelings all of us are having. Julie, I have you next.
Okay, that works.
We're having a little bit of a hard time hearing you, Julie. If you can speak up just a little bit.
I am very frustrated. I don't think that we need to stop North Star. I think we can come up with a bill will address our whole community's needs. In the past, some people fought with different bills. Now we are coming together, and now we will come up with one bill.
Like, thank you, everybody. That's it.
Thank you, Julie. Moses, I see your hand next.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Doreen. I do want to echo Julie's point. I'm personally Latino, and I work at Open Doors for Multicultural Families, and I am a program manager of the Advocacy and Civic Engagement program there. When I saw these concerns raised, I, like John, see validness in some of the comments around not having enough BIPOC representation here. However, I also see that that's a larger challenge for the entire community we serve. How many bills and initiatives and changes has this particular community made on a state level with not having BIPOC voice represented? This has been a problem for the last 40, 50 years. It's not something that's just happening this year. So I think the onus is on everyone on this call to do a better job to try to bring someone from the BIPOC community along with you. And it's not just enough to point fingers and say, DDC or Adrian is not doing this. This is something the community, everyone on this call, can do a better job at. From Open Doors, I have been involved in the creation and also facilitation of this particular meeting. So I've never felt like the BIPOC voice was not heard, because I am here on this call. We have Emily Fung, who's on this call. Emily is being a co-facilitator, as well as Maggie Ruiz. We also have Ross on this call and Key on this call, who happen to represent that intersectionality of being also a self-advocate and from people of color. So from Open Doors and the 2,000 multicultural families we serve, we have not felt excluded. Again, I would just caution this group to not let perfection get in the way of doing something good. I think that's a great start, and this is something we can continue to add on to every year. But I think it would be a shame to pause or to cancel these efforts after all the hours and hard work that every one of you have put in. And again, I end with the final comment that just, this is not just, the onus is not just on DDC. It's on every one of us here to bring someone, to try to bring someone from the BIPOC community and more self-advocates to this call. Better accessibility, all that stuff is things that we need to continue to work on. but we need help right now. And this is the first time this has ever happened, like Julie mentioned. I think it's a great thing that we just continue to work on it and continue to get better, but not stop. Which one of our organizations has stopped because we weren't perfect? That's my final comment. Thank you.
Thank you, Moses. Ginger, I see your hand, and then Diana, and then Ross.
Yeah, I want to thank Moses for the comment and also John's comments. I all agree with you here. And I think is that there are other solutions or there are other things we can put into the places to ensure that the future process will actually fully engage with more BIPOC community organizations and also the community members who share the intersectionality of disabilities and cultural or racial diversity, for example, like that. And I think it is that whatever we do right now, we need to have agreement to put BIPOC community as a kind of umbrella, thinking about equity as an umbrella statement as we pursued any legislative agenda. And we know if we have put in that priorities or to have a process to ensure that the BIPOC community voices are heard and whatever decisions are made to actually have include their voices, then, it's a matter of once the bill passed, then we will have a process and we will be able to allocate the resources to truly to engage with them. And I think that will help us to remedize the situation right now. What we see is not enough voices at this table right now. So that's something that I would like to suggest to get a support from all of us here to make sure that this umbrella statement of the BIPOC community voices need to be included in the decision making and including the feedback in whatever we are trying to do. Yeah.
Thank you, Ginger. Diana, and then Ross. And then I'll leave some room for AAC users after Ross.
This is Diana. And I want to echo what Moses was saying. It is not just the DDC or the ARC or any other single organization who has the responsibility of bringing people into this group and having their voice heard. It's kind of an individual effort that every one of us who is part of this group should be doing. I know that I was seeing a lot of a little self-advocate involvement. They were showing up for meetings, but they weren't being heard, or they didn't speak, or they weren't being, leaders. We just have a few of them that tend to be that. And I know that I started working with a self-advocate who is part of the BIPOC community as a mentor for leadership. And she's now more involved in this and stepping out into leadership positions. And I think it's every one of us, our responsibility to bring people along who we know their voice isn't being heard very much, because out of the 65 people on this call, we certainly are not going to hear from 65 people today. It just doesn't happen. So we've got a lot of people showing up at these meetings who don't speak or are afraid their voices aren't heard, that we really need to, those of us who are leaders that tend to speak out, bring those people along, mentor them so that they can become leaders who speak out.
Thank you, Diana. Ross?
Yeah, I just feel that, okay. So anyway, I feel that we've all been doing it, me and a lot of other people in the pop community. They were all getting involved in the meeting, but I was saying that maybe we can reach out to other pop community within the disability community. I know that there is a new multicultural program in Seattle that work with disability people, have them come on the North Star people. So, you know.
I think those are great suggestions, Ross. Thank you. I want to just leave a little space for any AAC users who'd like to speak. Go ahead and unmute now.
Hi.
Hi, go ahead.
Oh, add to all the points, a lot of people take this in concerns, 18-year-old might worry about guardianship, but the 21 and over might not, or and the one in school might worry about being in school, but you got all these different ages and abilities. So you got to take that into consideration. I think that was what you end up doing, and that about it.
Thank you. Eric, did you want to share some of the comments from your safe space? And then Courtney, I have you next from your safe space conversation and People First. I know that was kind of on the agenda. And then Courtney, I see your hand, and Jeremy would be next. For Krista, were you going to read those? I wasn't sure. Sorry, exactly how you guys arranged.
I can if you like. It's whatever you or Krista prefer.
They didn't hear you the whole time?
I can't even hear him at all.
Oh, we can hear you, Mike.
Okay.
Yeah,
we hear you. Okay.
Okay.
And my apologies. Originally, I asked Eric if he could co-facilitate this part, Doreen.
So you can call on people, Eric. That would be great.
and asked to get more spaces beyond just the raised hands. We were going to do a roll call. But this is a learning process that we're all discussing right here, right now. Eric, do you want to read the conversation that happened in the safe space yesterday?
Yes, I'd be glad to, Krista. Not a problem.
Okay. All right.
We're basically addressing the concerns and problems, solving what works and what doesn't. This is a meaningful to so many advocates. We can't quit. This is a huge for the civil rights movement. I know there is a little drama and BS, but that comes with these very big things that we are struggling with. We need to figure out a way to keep moving this forward. And I said that. Another thing was keep working on it. Mike Raymond said that. First large attempt at an inclusive problem solving that I have seen. And that's what Krista said. What doesn't work is things that are going too fast. Kyle Matheson said that. Not understanding what is being discussed. Jessica Rainier said that. Unable to understand the document and not sure anyone can explain it in plain language. Eric Mathis said that. Hard to make a great bill that includes all 8 topics. Sean Latham said that. There is a lot of misunderstanding, miscommunication. Ivanova said that. People don't always use people first language when they talk. Mike G said that. Hearing adults referring to people with disabilities as kids. Kyle Matheson said that. Recommendation, please use youth or student or adult, child, or people we serve or person receiving support. Avoid kids, clients,
Patients.
Patients. Thank you. Residents. Ivanova said that. We need to get back on track and not divide North Star is a good thing for the community. This is what people need. We cannot be divided. I think we should start doing the work person as community. Rostam said that. If every group made sure to have someone read the chat, it would be helpful. Sean Latham said that. Many people who...
And I'm gonna stop you there because
Yeah,
hopefully
that's fine.
that's where our meeting started today. And in the spirit of Sean's feedback, we should probably read out the chat. I see 14 things in the chat, and then we can continue to call on hands. And I apologize. Normally I would make sure and read back everything I'm typing to ensure accuracy. If you do see something that is inaccurate, or you want me to read back what I've typed to ensure that I captured your voice authentically, please feel free to ask as I'm commenting, or as you're commenting and I'm typing.
Looks like there are two hands up. There's Courtney and there's Jeremy that has some comments, I think.
Okay.
Hi, Jeremy.
Go ahead, Courtney.
Okay. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Courtney. I have glasses. I'm in a blue shirt, and there's a white wall behind me. You may hear a baby in the background as well, so no promises. So I just want to echo Moses and Diana's comments in regards to it's really a moral obligation amongst all of us to contribute and be inclusive. What I would say is that, thinking of how to recalibrate a bit and how to pivot in a really purposeful way with continuing the work that this group has been doing, perhaps it would behoove us to, consider getting a DEI or lean facilitator to come to our group, and we meet as a collective several times with this facilitator to kind of help us get back on the same page and help us recognize the skin in the game that we have. And making sure that at the end of the day, at the center of the table, our focus is aligned with everybody seated at the table. Not an easy task. I know several people that have that skill set, and that is not to say the facilitators of this group haven't done a stellar job. You have. It's just someone with a real focus, and the actual training of facilitation. It is quite a craft. That could maybe be a way to kind of get us to recalibrate a bit, perhaps, help DRW to sit at the table, and we can get on the same page with DRW as well. And just a thought.
Jeremy?
Well, I'll let Sean go ahead of me, thanks, because I know that he had raised his hand in the chat box before me. So go ahead, Sean.
Yeah.
Hi, everyone. My point with saying to limit the scope is that I've noticed with 8 different buckets and committees for each, There is a lot going on between all the committees, and I worry that it's hard to follow everything or understand each of the points. So I'm wondering if we just focus on making a bill on one, maybe two buckets. It will help us all to stay on the same page and reduce misinterpretations, since there will be less to read and less meetings. I also think it will give us more time to get more biopic comments.
More by time, more view, more individual in the BIPOC community, you know, and even having going to them and reviewing stuff. Because some individuals might not be ready to come into you might have to go to them first. So that's my comments. Thank you.
Jeremy?
Thanks, Eric. Hi, everyone. My name is Jeremy Nordenpaul. I'm the Executive Director of the Developmental Disabilities Council. I'm a 35-year-old white man with brown hair parted to the side, clear framed glasses, an olive green shirt, and behind me is a ceiling fan that sort of looks like a UFO. And I'm only going to take a couple of minutes because I really want to continue hearing from other folks and just moving forward together. But I just wanted to take a minute to say how deeply humbled I feel and how much deep appreciation I have for all of you, for your courage and your leadership, your honesty, and just sharing yourselves and sharing your stories and sharing your feedback. I really believe that this movement, I mean, that's really what this is. This movement is strong because all of you are here and you are strong. And I feel very confident that we're only going to get stronger as we continue reflecting and becoming more diverse and becoming more inclusive and becoming more united. And I feel lots of appreciation for that. And I know that most of you would agree with me that the question is not if we will have challenges or if we will have obstacles or if we will disagree or if we'll make missteps. We know that we will and we have. And I think that the question for us and for our leadership is when those things happen, how are we going to respond? How are we going to hold ourselves accountable? And then how are we going to figure out how to move forward? And so I'm just really glad to be on this journey with each of you. I think now is the perfect time for us to be sharing this feedback and hearing from others. I myself am just really learning a lot. And so I think now is the perfect time for us to, whether you call it recalibrate or get feedback or reassess. I think it's a great time for that. And I just want to say thank you again for being here and for giving so much of yourself.
Stacy?
Hi, everyone. I'm Stacy Dim, and I am a white female in middle-aged with a hot, sweaty bun on top of my head because I don't have air in my house. You're going to see some boards above me that are part of the style of my living room. I'm really grateful for the conversation today. I think that the feedback from Disability Rights Washington in terms of the cautionary reminder that it provides us is really valuable. All of our organizations are struggling with questions around equity. We're questioning everything we do and how we do it through the lens of equity. And I think we're doing it proudly. And we really want to be inclusive and learn from each step of this way, because none of us is doing this perfectly. We're all striving to expand. And I just want to acknowledge that everybody here has made great points about all of our respective moral obligations to look carefully at this issue. I think not for lack of engagement and not for lack of trying, we have not done this perfectly. But as you saw from the email that went out yesterday, we have over 200 engaged in this effort. I've never seen this amount of engagement in this kind of a giant conversation that we're having. I want to express my concern that I think the way in which this got expressed to our group. I feel like we've been a group that really welcomes the feedback. Concerns me. I think that attacks within our own community give legislators and our detractors all the fuel they need to continue to make this a very difficult process. And I want to urge Disability Rights Washington to be engaged in this, to be at these meetings, to be part of these committees, to be part of the solutions, to really see for themselves the way in which people are interacting and provide feedback for how to improve that process. We have a community that is really suffering from a lack of services, from a lack of commitment by our state. And I think to hold an effort like this hostage requires that we ask a lot of questions. When will we decide we have sufficient input? Who will decide that? How do we go about identifying some ways in which we could measure that? And how do we go about carefully looking at what we expect our outcomes to be? And shouldn't we always be a group that ends with a caveat that says, can we do better? And did we hear from everybody? Those are questions that have to be asked in a group like this all the time. So I'm grateful to hear the amount of humility here. I hope that DRW will listen carefully to the feedback from this meeting and proceed as they do to talk about this issue with the council and with the rest of us in a way that is inclusive and participatory. Thanks.
Thank you.
Mike, was that finger a wish to speak? I'm just checking.
Yeah, my name's Mike. My name's Mike Raymond. I am very happy to hear what you guys has been doing, because I've been doing this. I've been doing all of this stuff for 41 years, and I'm glad to be here. Thank you.
And Kyle Matheson has his hand up.
I'm just going to echo what everybody says. We always, it's all groups go, it has their ups and downs. When you get somebody that comes and says, hey, we're not trying to be inclusive or trying to put out these folks that says, hey, or like the BIPOC committee or whatever, and try not to include them. We're trying to say, hey, you are included. You are more than welcome. But a lot of times, to me, it's a matter of choice. We have always tried to, it's been trying to get out the word to say, hey, you're more than welcome to come and join all the committees. You are welcome to join the overall deal, just so you can see what's been happening and also be able to put your input into it. So it's one of the biggest things that's true. It's things are going fast, and we still need to continue this work, but we need to slow down just maybe a little bit, so it has time so people can soak it in, to get a better understanding on what's being presented, or understanding the overall concept, and et cetera. And so that it will be able to, so people can be more in what's it called, engaging. And it's going to take a while. Thanks.
Gabriella, I saw for a second your hand went up.
Yes, hi. Sorry, I am driving, so my connection is not very good. Can you hear me? Yes, okay, yes. Thank you. So, thank you so much for this conversation. So my name is Gabriela Ewing. I am a DDC member, and I'm also the ED for Hispanic Disability Support of Southwest Washington. We call it in Spanish Pasitos Gigantes. And I haven't been in these meetings to every meeting, so I think this is my second or third, and it's mostly time, like everybody else, right? Everything competes with everything. So I really appreciate this conversation because I think it is important to address this issue with DRW and their perception of the lack of inclusion to BIPOC community. And I totally agree with them that things haven't been inclusive for BIPOC. I am a person of color and working with families that need a lot of like language access and support in this matter. So I totally understand and I agree with that. I don't agree with stopping the process because I think it will be worthless to stop it. So I think continuing with the process and addressing these issues along the way, just like Jeremy and some other people have shared, it is the right thing to do because we can never get perfect. Nothing can be perfect to say, okay, let's go. So I think it is a work in progress and opening that conversation to hear their concerns and for them also to get to know us, like at the DDC, where several members that are BIPOC and we have these considerations. Jeremy and some other council members are here and they know we have had these conversations about equity and about inclusion. And it's not only because of the color of skin, it's not only because of language access, it's because of the inclusion of everything. So we did have these conversations in our meetings, and I think the right thing to do is just to continue the conversation with DRW and for them to get to know what is it that we are working on and that things are just moving forward, right? So, and I can feel their pain when they heard about the voting for people with disabilities or BIPOC community. And I know the feeling because I had the same perception with Jamie Herrera Butler. We had a meeting with her not too long ago. I think it was about a month ago or so. And I raised a concern of supporting the reconciliation package for her to vote in favor of that because immigration was one of the issues in that reconciliation package. Since I work with families not only in Southwest Washington, but around the state that need an immigration status and their children are US citizens, but they have disabilities. And what our family is gonna do if they're thrown out of the country and what's gonna happen to their children. And some of them are like from birth and some are like 25, 26. So she felt, Jamie felt that it was worthless. She mentioned one case and for one case, she dismissed my ask. So I totally feel what the RW is talking about, but I don't think it's right just to seize everything until it's fixed. So that's how I feel. And thank you so much for holding this space and for letting me share a little bit.
Martha?
My name is Martha Meyer, white, female, chin length, grayish hair, big maroon glasses, 66 years old, with a multicolored banner in my background. I'm just still a little confused about what Disability Rights Washington is looking for. They don't want to address a bigger group, but they want to address a smaller group. And I was just wondering when they wanted to do that. And it seems like it would be helpful to hear their concerns. I can understand maybe why, I'm trying to read between the lines of the email. It sounded like maybe they were afraid of impacting BIPOC populations if they address the larger group. So I don't know if someone could tell us a little bit more about what they are seeking and perhaps what they're offering that I'm not getting at least. Thanks.
Thank you. Kelly?
Hi. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Kelly Nesbitt. I'm a parent advocate, co-advocate with my 29-year-old son. And one of the things that keeps on going through my mind about pausing this project versus what a lot of the recommendations have been, which is to try to find ways to bring more of the BIPOC community into the conversation. It's going to be real difficult to get people to come back. I mean, unless they're paid, you know, there's a lot of people that are volunteering their time, and I think that needs to be considered as well. So, you know, rather than stopping this, finding ways to address the issues that have arisen, and also, you know, moving forward at the same time, I think that's my opinion of the best way to approach this. Thank you.
Thank you. So I'm going to go through and just read some of the chat comments, if that's okay, Eric, since I don't see other hands. Okay. So I'm trying to get far enough back. Every time it skips forward, every time somebody comments. So a lot of thank yous to Krista for modeling humility and helping to address that up front, which I echo that. Bold leadership and Krista, your words are humble and courageous. We appreciate your honest thoughts and reflection. Bold leadership, daring, humble, and learning is continuous. While it can be challenging, difficult, and very meaningful. Thank you for modeling this. Thank you, Moses. We're glad you're a part of this group and we love working with you, from Ivanova. Thank you, Krista, for your thoughtfulness and transparency, from SEMA. Stacy said, I agree with your observations and comments, Moses. Thank you. Thank you, Moses. Great insights, from Donna. Emily said, well said, Moses. I echo all of your sentiments. John said, Krista, super proud of you and appreciate everything that you do for us. At that point, Martha asked the question, when is the DEC meeting again, where DRW would like to share their concerns? So that's an outstanding question that I think Adrian and I could probably answer. Courtney said, Moses speaks about needing help as a group. Perhaps we can seek a trained DEI facilitator, lean facilitator that can help us to recalibrate in a respectful and productive way. And I think that was also given voice to later in our meeting. Kai let us know that she had to run to another meeting, but to keep them posted. Lance said, I agree that this effort needs to be inclusive and safe for all participants. Additional efforts to outreach to communities of color as well as professional facilitation are necessary for us to be successful. Ivanova spoke, we need to end gatekeeping of services because lots of people are used and not helped. Because of that, we need to reorganize the service system. Doesn't work for all people. Immigrants are harmed by all the demand for paperwork, need help. Thank you for your transparency, Krista. Martha said, I agree with Lance's statement. I think it's great to individually invite people, but I'm not sure this will be enough. Sean offered to explain his comments further, which he did. Stacy said, Courtney, I really like that idea. I support the idea of a facilitator to help us through the next phase of this energetic project. Darcy said, you are all using and modeling descriptive introductions, and that is so important to making meetings inclusive. I'm wondering if we should all learn and feel comfortable using descriptive introductions going forward. This is Doreen. I gave mine at the beginning. I thought this conversation is if the BIPOC communities are in fact not well represented in this group. It's easy for us to think things are going well. It's up to us to help with representation, from Lance. Courtney said she's happy to pass on some names. Moses said, thank you, Stacy, for your words. Lance, great input, Stacy. Francie, thank you, Mike. R. Stacy, this conversation challenges us to think hard about what is leadership and how do we engage everyone. And how do we know we have engaged the most affected by these situations? I am extremely grateful to the DDC for facilitating this huge conversation and for constantly being open to feedback and improvement. Thank you, Stacy. Well said from Scott. Jessica has another meeting at 1, but she agrees with everything being said and appreciates the open conversation. Eric thanked Jessica for her input. Diana said, thank you, Gabriella. Please always let us know if you ever feel we diminished your concerns. Moses said, gracias, Gabriella, for those words. Glad to have you with us. Arzu said, dear Gabriella, it's so heartwarming to have you as a part of this group. I look forward to seeing you soon. Tracy said, at Sean, you helped bring light to something in my mind. True. I am white and privileged, which includes being paid to work in a field that gives me the opportunity to share my talents. An area of responsibility for organizations such as PAVE is how can we best support this work? One way would be to turn to constituents for inclusion. This includes amplifying their voice and input. Having the time to be here now and during any online meeting is a privilege for which I'm grateful. Widening the opportunity to amplify and seek input for this work is possible, and we stand ready to intentionally pursue these efforts. Those who cannot be here for all the possible reasons is on my mind and heart. Whitney, I agree with Martha. I would too like some clarification if there are issues to be addressed. I feel that it's something that should be brought to the whole group. Stacy said, I also encourage DRW to observe the kindness and willingness to address the cautions they have expressed to this group and to engage in a similar fashion, to explain what they observed, to provide examples of where people have been left out. This group should not be on trial. This is litigation. And the adversarial approach used in legal matters doesn't seem like the appropriate approach. I want to and do hear their DRW's concerns. It is just as important to participate and engage in the process before judging it. Be here, be a part of this group, help us improve and engage. Over 200 people giving their time to make changes happen. I don't see this effort stopping, but it can improve. We must always ask whether we can do better and how we know what we have done. Diana said, thank you, Stacy. Francie Peltier, as a parent of a 36-year-old, I've been advocating for years. We need this process to continue with as much inclusivity as possible. We have momentum, need to move forward. Ivanova apologized for losing connection. Sean said, I agree with what everyone has said. This is a great moment. We need to keep moving just a little slower. I agree. DRW should address the whole group. And thanks at Tracy. Yes, if we take the message out to others, including BIPOC community in a variety of ways, it will help us get to more people. It is a learning process. That is the chat.
Always a mouthful. Great job.
Thanks.
All right, so saying that there are some changes that have been brainstormed already that we're hoping to bring to this group and to see if this helps just beginning to address some of the issues. And there's so much amazing ideas that can be considered and be brought back to the group next meeting. So one of the changes, and I want to introduce is a volunteer who is hoping to help with this group and has volunteered his time. Well, not fully volunteer, he's an AmeriCorps member. Blake, I know you're somewhere in the sea of faces out there. If you can, wave if your camera's on. So Blake is an individual who is serving a term. Where is Blake? Sorry, I'm looking. He was here earlier. So he has graciously offered to go back through all of the meetings and to go back through and transcribe and make sure that there is an accurate representation of people's voices and add in the names of the individuals who offered up their suggestions so that their names and their voice can be honored in that way. So going back through all of the North Star meetings up to date, and as you know, that is not a small task. So it's a big job. He does work full time, and as an employee of People First of Washington as well, we are taking the rest of his normal duties off of his plate to ensure that that we do our part to lend a resource and honor his commitment to this
Hey,
project.
Trick, so I need to go, but the eye appointment. But what will be my responsibility for like for the chair of one of the committees, co-chair?
Yeah.
What you'll be my responsibility? The eye appointment, and I need to.
Yep. So Kieran, thank you for volunteering to work and co-facilitate the schools group. I'll have somebody reach out to you regarding that.
Thanks, Fred, actually. I mean, he's the one who recommended me on this and the thing. But
And for those of you who don't, oh, sorry. Kieran's going to be joining our group, is new to this community and is coming from Spokane and is a Student First member from People First.
Advocate to people. And one more thing I want to say is you should try to make whatever bill you put forward to a house is bipartisan.
Yes, that is a priority. So Kieran, I'm going to go ahead and put you on mute because we only have a little bit of time and there's like a lot of people, but good luck on your appointment.
Krista, just a quick I'm willing to be your take over as your co-facilitator until next time, and see what we can, and if unless somebody else wants to step up.
Okay, well, I'm glad there's already volunteers because, as you know, there's a lot of ask to this big effort here. The next thing is we are hoping to address some of the concerns that have been brought up with the spreadsheets and how difficult it has been and is to make Google spreadsheets accessible, and then all the time that people spend trying to identify all of the pieces of the spreadsheet. So one of the ideas that can be out for this group is the idea of maybe having a systems team that can go through the spreadsheets and just help uniform them and identify the scope of both the problems and the scope of the solutions that are being offered by individual voices, and add in things that may be helpful when going to the legislature, say, you know, if there are certain data sources or things that might be useful. Because we have a lot of people with very technical skills and knowledge experience within this community, and we don't want to not take advantage of that, but we also recognize that when you're getting technical within the bucket groups, sometimes it really does leave people behind, and some of those things can be handled offline. So we're hoping to find volunteers that can go at this as a team, recognizing the main rule that nothing is deleted or reworded, so that it changes the intention or voice of the individuals who have offered up their individual problems and solutions to the group. And then the other thing that I wanted oh, sorry, I should probably ask Doreen, are we asking for volunteers right now? Or I'm just hopefully that you guys are absorbing this.
Yeah, anybody wants to
it.
volunteer and jump into this, please, you can contact myself, you can contact Adrian, as we are kind of finished. Kyle, I guess, is volunteering to co-facilitate with me. Thanks, friend. Or anyone else who would like to. There's no rule of only 2 co-facilitators. We can certainly use a third voice too. So it's perfectly okay to step up. And there will be the next 3 meetings going into the fall with new co-facilitators. So I wanted to leave a minute right now, Krista, for sure, to do the poll. I'm just acknowledging time. It is 1:15. And we're starting to lose folks, and I don't want them to miss the opportunity to vote. So Adrian, can you launch? We're going to just shift focus for one moment right here, you guys. And Adrian's going to launch a poll for us to
Hey,
vote on our
Doreen,
top 3. Yeah.
Doreen, I think Blake is still logged in to my account because I can't access the polling.
Oh,
So can you make sure Blake isn't in?
nobody else is in but you. You're the only host.
It says you've logged in from another device. Your polling session is inactive.
Why don't you make me the host, see if that'll fix it.
Okay, let's give it a try. I apologize, everyone. Bear with me for just a second.
No worries.
Keep it up.
Okay, and we love technology. Here we go. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and launch this poll. It's working for me, Adrian. So right now we're going to answer 4 questions from the 40 people who voted on the online Google poll. We've pulled the top 3 voted names, and they were the top 3 in each of these areas were well ahead of anyone else in the voting. So I just wanted to make sure you know this is a representation of the people who were well ahead as far as the votes of the folks who were able to participate in the Google poll online. But we wanted to make sure that the space was open and everyone had an opportunity by doing a live poll today. So I'm launching polling now. There's 4 questions. Who do you think the prime sponsor in our bill in the House of Representatives? Choice 1 is Representative Noel Frame. Choice 2 is Representative Jamila Taylor.
To interrupt real quick, I know that I have already completed the poll and it's showing up for me. So if you've already completed this poll, please do not vote again. All right.
Oh,
continue.
I already completed the poll myself.
Right.
So
And the third choice for question number 1 is Representative Lori Jenkins. For question 2, who do you think should prime sponsor our bill in the Senate? Choice 1 is Senator Emily Randall. Choice 2 is Senator Joan Nguyen. Choice 3 is Senator Karen Kaiser. People are voting, all right. For question number 3, who do you think should second sponsor our bill in the House of Representatives? Choice 1 is Representative Michelle Caldier. Choice 2 is Representative Joe Schmick. Choice 3 is Representative Paul Harris. And question number 4 is, who do you think should second sponsor our bill in the Senate? Choice 1 is Senator John Braun. Choice 2 is Senator Sharon Brown. And choice 3 is Senator Mike Patton. So I will leave that poll up. We can carry on as people vote. Krista, go ahead.
and I already voted already. So I just go ahead and just exit it out, exit.
Sure, you can.
Yes.
So one of the other proposed changes to hopefully help our community and our goal of diversity and inclusion is we've talked about having a potential outreach team. So beyond, this is just one idea. And again, I think there's a lot of other ideas that we could consider because there's lots of ways to bring people's voices to the table here. But one of the ideas was to create an outreach team that could make sure to gather input from people from historically marginalized communities. And they could do that by facilitating input from groups outside of the North Star meeting, similar to what happened yesterday within that safe space, to make sure that people's voices and ideas were included. There's also, the potential to reach out to individuals to gather their input when you see people showing up, but maybe not feeling comfortable participating in the group. The team could potentially help with that. And then making sure that other communities can add to the sheets and participate separate from the North Star meetings themselves if they have a safe space. And then with that team could follow up on requests for help or understanding. There is, like has been said, this is moving fast. There's a lot of information and material, and that's one option or idea that has been presented. But and then oh, sorry, I'm distracted by Adrian's son. Sorry, momentary. It's so cute. Okay. Kids. I like kids. Okay. So reminders of the buckets and the 8 groups: caregiving, system access, schools, day services, healthcare, transportation, housing, and civil rights. And the idea of what's happening, that our community is participating and putting information into these buckets. And these buckets are going to end up going and creating change through our state system, through the bills, and moving through, of course, like anything, there's always kind of a catch or a sift to make sure that as the DDC has helped generate this work, there is some responsibility for them to provide some basic oversight to make sure that it passes the DDC mission and value statements. And those, of course, the mission is to create meaningful pathways, to create pathways to meaningful, integrated, and productive lives, and to ensure that things value self-determination, independence, inclusion, integration, and productivity. And that is something that is beholden to by the DDC. So that is it for me for the moment. I don't know if we have time to read the chat. I know there's been quite a bit more.
Yeah,
And then
I'll go ahead and
final
do
words
that, Krista.
from Adrian.
Sure. The polling is still open. I'll close that in about 3 minutes, and I'm going to read out the chat from Jeremy's comment at 1:09. Jeremy, the next DDC meeting is October 21st and 22nd. There will be a Zoom option. All meetings are open to the public. The agendas have not been created yet, but as requested, we can add this topic for council members to discuss. DRW has a representative on the council. Please contact Jeremy if you would like information about how to join the meetings as a member of the public. jeremy.norton-paul@ddc.wa.gov. And then Anne said, for transcript of past meetings work, we have the closed caption function on today. When you do, that can be saved and gives a raw start for a transcript, including speaker identities, which will be very helpful for Blake's work. So if that's something we can incorporate as ideas. Francie said, thank you, Jeremy. John said he's late for the ESJ meeting. Appreciate the discussion and look forward to continuing the North Star work through an equity lens. Kathy said, a suggestion is to move away from using one spreadsheet and have a folder for individual groups. Andrea said that she had to leave and return. She's a parent of a 21-year-old and has lost track of committees and meeting times. Is it possible to contact committee leaders via email with suggestions? Yes, absolutely. And if so, how do we find that list? Great question. We will figure out that communication and get that out to the entire committee as well. Kathy asked if the poll was sent out already. A larger poll was sent out 2 weeks ago via Google polling survey to everyone that had every name brought forward, as far as prime sponsors and second sponsors. So we brought forward the top 3 from that vote, which had 40 members participate here to this meeting, to ensure that everyone could have active participation in the poll today. So these are the top 3 names in each of those questions from the online poll brought forward to our live meeting poll today. And Gabriella apologized that she had to go, but left her contact information. and said thank you. And that is the chat. Anything else for the good of the order, Adrian or Jeremy or Krista?
I would suggest that you go ahead and review the poll and see where everything stands, because I think it's got that time.
Yep. So, okay. I just ended the poll and I'm going to share results here. So for question 1, 41% of the vote went to Jamila Taylor, Representative Jamila Taylor. For question 2, for the prime sponsor from the Senate, 47% of the vote went to Senator Emily Randall. For question 3, who we think the second sponsor in the House should be, 47% of the vote went to Representative Michelle Collier. And then second, 41% to Representative Joe Schmick. And third was Representative Paul Harris at 13%. Who do you think the second sponsor for the bill in the Senate should be? 53% went to Senator John Braun, 28% to Senator Sharon Brown, and 19% to Senator Mike Patton. I'm sorry, and I didn't read everybody from the first question, which was 31% to Representative Noel Frame, 41% to Representative Jamila Taylor, 28% to Representative Lori Jenkins. And for the prime sponsor in the Senate, it was 47% to Senator Emily Randall, 28% to Senator John Wynn, and 25% to Senator Karen Kaiser. So we will take these along with the previous poll and start to approach individuals to see if they are interested in being our prime and second sponsors, because there's no guarantee they'll say yes or that they'll make this a priority. But this gives us a great place to start that is from our community. Adrian, I see you have a piece to say. Go right ahead. And I'll relaunch the poll in case anyone wants to vote again.
Hey, everyone, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So my name is Adrian, for those of you who are new to the group, and I have the honor of doing public policy work for the Washington State Developmental Disabilities Council. I am joined here today by my 7-year-old son, Jack, and my colleague, Julie Clark. Both of their AAC devices have died, so we're all using my computer right now because we have to be flexible and nimble. So I'm grateful for their participation here today. I come to this work as a mom of 2 young kids with developmental disabilities, as a twin sister to a woman with developmental disabilities, and as an attorney who had to pivot my entire career trajectory in order to respond to the needs of my family's reality of having to navigate a tattered and unresponsive service system built as a result of budget scarcity rather than people's needs. I suppose I could be accused of being naive or too hopeful when I pitched this idea to you all at the end of the last year. But the questions I try to answer each day include, how do we bring together a diverse community that is not used to working together? How do you address systemic racism, ableism, sexism, classism, while building a legislative agenda that includes everyone's wants and needs? How do you heal decades of purposeful exclusion, tokenism, marginalization, and minimization of basic human needs? And how do you ensure that each participant feels respected, included, and heard at every meeting, in every interaction? And the answers to each of these questions are, I'm not sure. But I do know that I can't answer all of these questions by myself. I need each of you to come to this work with your best, most authentic hearts and help us address each of the questions without the egos, shame, and fear that so often hold us back. And my request of each of us moving forward include, if there is repair work that needs to be done because of something someone said or did, I want to know about it right away. I can't help facilitate or address a harm that has been caused if I don't know about it. 2, try to get to the need of what people are asking for. If people are asking to close institutions, ask what's behind that request. If people are asking to expand day services for their adult children, ask what need is being met behind that request. Ask with the hope of learning something you may not have previously considered. We can all acknowledge that this process is imperfect, and we can all agree that it is better, but can we all agree that it's better than the one that we've done in the past? What we've tried in the past includes sabotaging one another's work, ignoring entire communities impacted by IDB, tokenizing people, minimizing advocates' opinions for not being disabled enough, shaming parents of highly impacted children for needing services so that parents can work, and baking in norms and behaviors that preserve traditional power structures. This work is meant to disrupt these realities. It should be uncomfortable. This process aims to do things differently, and I implore you to stay with it and help make it better. It should be moving for you to hear a BIPOC advocate relay how excruciating it is to be shut out of services because there are no interpreters available to tell families how to apply for services or even enroll their child in school. It should be hard to hear families recount having to give up careers, homes, and savings and live in poverty in order to support their loved ones with disabilities. In January, I asked you to bring to the group your North Star hopes and requests for legislative action because we've been asking for only the bare minimum and we still fall short of that request. This work calls on each of us to believe that we're worth asking for what we need. This requires that each of us believes we're worth it in our bones. I have and continue to offer one-on-one support and full transparency. I have and continue to offer helping to create safe meetings where people with high support needs and communication barriers can participate alongside those of us with few support needs and few communication barriers. I can't promise that I'll get it right every time, but I humbly ask each of you to help me get it right. Moving forward, I just want to make sure that you all feel that you've been heard. I hope you can see that we're not dismissing anyone's concerns. We've already begun the process of trying to get a facilitator for meetings to help each of us grow, someone with the expertise and intersectionality of working with both BIPOC and disabled communities. And our goal is that each of you feel seen and heard, both just in your concerns and you as a human. We all bring our own humanness to this work, and it's messy. So I just wanted to say I'm grateful for each of you for sticking with this. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments, Adrienne. Julia put into the chat, as the current chair of the DDC, she wants everyone to know how impressed she is with the North Star work and especially the conversation today. Noted that the transcript using closed captioning link begins at 12:29, at least on her computer. And yes, there were important comments made during the time before the captioning started. So we'll be ensure capturing those also along with the important comments in the hour that's been captured. So thank you. Sandy said, thank you to Adrienne. Moses said, Adrienne, thank you for your heartfelt words. I appreciate all your efforts in helping all of us to work together as one team. More than all this, thanks for being a super mom to your beautiful children. They are truly blessed. Craig said, thank you, Adrian, for your hard work. Lori said, thank you, Adrian. Stacy said, Adrian, thank you so much for your words, for sharing Jack and supporting Julie, and being so brave to lay your heart and soul to this process. And lots more thanks. I'm just going to say that. And Emily said, thank you. Sean said, thank you. Because we are 3 minutes over time and I want to respect everyone's schedules. Final comment from Jeremy was, I deeply appreciate everyone and thank you for your courage and wisdom. So
You want to do the final poll just to, because since you relaunched
I'm not sure how to show the whole thing, Kyle, but I'll make sure that that gets out to the entire group.
Perfect.
Okay. Eric, I see your hand.
Yes, when people are slowly trickling out, I would like to talk to Adrian and Greg Cecilia, since I'm on the civil rights group, or I could just do it now in front of everyone. It's whatever people want to hear or not.
Okay. All right.
I'm just going to let everybody know that's a wrap. So you're free to go unless you'd like to stay for open conversation. Krista always has, since our time facilitating, stayed an extra 30 minutes to capture any additional voice or anyone who needed more time to process and respond. So that 30-minute time starts now, and anyone else who needs to go, please feel free to do that. Thank you all. Go ahead, Eric.
All right, well, I know I am one of the facilitators for one of the work groups for the civil rights. And the first one that's coming up on the 19th. Unfortunately, at the same time of that, on that day and time, I will be missing the civil rights work group. And I want Greg to have, like, if David Lord is willing to facilitate, that's great. If not, then I really suggest someone like Anthony or something like that to co-facilitate with Greg. That's what I really wanted to say. And thank you all for your input during this meeting.
Thanks, Eric. Yeah, and I'm happy to, let's follow up offline and figure out the scheduling stuff, because there's those scheduling things happen. You know, these are a lot of meetings on the calendar. So I want to make sure everyone feels supported. And if we need to reschedule or do something different, let's do it. But let's connect offline. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, Adrian. You're a great star as well as everyone else.
Thank you. Thank you.
You bet.
Yeah, and we're not giving up. We'll keep coming back. I mean, we believe in this project. So, I think everyone does.
Thank you, Craig. Thank you.
Shut him down.
If you do reschedule it, just please put a Google.
There will be something. There will be something sent out that Adrian will be sending out anyway. That's like a thing.
Shut him down.
What was that, Mike Raymond?
Shut him down.
Okay.
I think it's important too to note that we've been trying to record and put all of these meetings, including the one in question, and the recordings of them up onto the DDC website for North Star so that you guys can access those recordings. You can, watch if you missed a work group that you wanted to participate in. You can watch and see what input was given and add comments inside of the worksheets. I think, as we go forward, we'll look for some ways to gather input from individuals who cannot attend a meeting like this to ensure we have good representation out there in the world of problems and solutions. And I know I will be inviting intentionally some partners to our next work group meeting with a whole lot more focus on inclusion of the BIPOC community. So I hope you guys all feel that same responsibility too.
I can tell you, as far as the health group, hoping that if someone does step up, you just got to realize that part of that is to communicate with Adrian or somebody to making sure that we have the space to be able to do the work, but making sure people show up. It's their choice, but it's to show up. And we can make the difference.
So Kyle, I helped co-facilitate that group before, and I'll definitely be participating still in it. So you can certainly depend on my attendance.
Yeah, I do need to tap into somebody who can be able to catch me up, because I'm not attending any of the health group because I've been busy with the 3 other groups prior. So
Yep, I'm happy to help orient you to the sheet and what's been discussed so far. It's a very diverse group.
Thank you, Doreen. And we'll say this more completely as time goes on too, but as we're making this agenda, this bill or package of bills, whatever it happens to be, there's going to be still a ton more opportunity for people to ensure that their input is captured and fully, and that we fully flesh out these ideas, right? Like, we haven't even gotten to legislative staffers to work on getting bill language, right? So there's going to be a ton of work to do on the back end when we get a draft bill back. And David Lord, thankfully, has offered to help with this on the back end, make sure that we are plain language, or we are unpacking what the bill actually does, what the bill actually says. Because no first draft of any bill that I'm aware of has ever passed the legislature. There's always revisions. There's always something that has to get fixed. And this is a multi-year process, right? And so there's going to be stuff that comes out and that doesn't work, and we catch it and we're like, okay, we've got to come back and fix that next session. Or, we say we only got part of the way to getting everything that our community needs. We need to come back, examine, what did get passed, what didn't, and figure out how we want to tackle it again next year. So this isn't a one and done thing, right? This isn't we get done with it next session and it's all over. This is hopefully a new way of working together and making sure that we're bringing everyone along with us and centering the most marginalized communities in our community at the center of this work. So, but this is an evolving process. I just wanted to make that clear.
You're right, but I truly believe that one of the biggest things that we're looking forward is to, and I agree with a lot of people, possibility we may have to split it up a little bit and do it over multi-year, take 2 or 3 of the buckets and say, hey, which one of the buckets are more important, or buckets are more important that we need to get through as part of this process, and saying, hey, can we keep adding on so that it's all part of the North Star? So that's my true belief behind it.
I'm gonna put your computer in the car. Do you want me to do that? Yeah. Kyle, to your point about prioritization, I agree. We might have to get to the point where we're prioritizing. I would just say I want to do that as a group, right? And not just have like 1 or 2 or 3 people deciding what's going to be the priorities. I want us to have open conversation.
Of course. I mean, because we come down the line, as you said, if there's certain, we got 8 buckets, 8 things, right? And as you well know, and I've seen the history of our state legislators, that they got so much other pieces and other legislation they have to consider, that, hey, if we introduce this as part of an overall bill, and then we say, hey, let's hone on maybe 2 or 3, and then say, hey, maybe we can start bringing it as a 3-part series. As first part takes care of the most needed, and so forth. And that way, it's saying we got it in. They know what's coming in this way, that if we can't get it all, we'll know that, hey, let's diverse back a little bit, see where we can improve a little bit, say, thank you, we got this. Now let's start going our next step, adding 3 more parts and saying, hey, is this a policy bill or does it include any money, any financial or money situation? I know, like, for example, healthcare or transportation are the
Right.
2 biggest ones I believe are going to take, it's going to include finance money.
Yeah.
It's all gonna take money.
Yeah, every line.
There's not a thing proposed.
Every line is gonna cost money. But I will say too, that another big piece of the goal of this was to show legislators the gulf between where we are and where we want to be as a community. So I don't want us to be bashful about saying, here's where we want to be. And those of us knowing that, yeah, it's going to take a lot of work, a lot of money to get there. But if we don't paint that North Star picture for legislators, they will never know where we want to go.
Exactly.
So.
Okay, you bet. As I told Mike yesterday, I said I had a great knock chuck and shut him down. And it was crazy, but
shut him down.
You got it, Mike.
Hey, this is Kristen. I just want to check in. I haven't been talking, and thanks for the good meeting, everybody. I'm a white woman, short brown hair, and middle-aged, and I got into this North Star work because I'm really interested in the TEFRA, expanding TEFRA, and I was really interested in that letter that Mark sent from disability, from whatever that his group is called. Sorry, forgot. And I know I didn't say this in the big group, but I'd really like to keep their perspective on board with us, and not alienate them in this work. And but that's a very big ask that they're asking, to pause this work. But if a pause could make this bill better, I'm okay with that. For people who are BIPOC, I think I'm not, and I think that could make the bill better. So I just wanted to share that, and if there's anybody else on this meeting that hasn't spoken yet, I'd really encourage you to talk after me. Thanks.
Wow, it's being dead.
If you're talking,
Crickets.
Adrian, we can't hear you. It looks
Cut it
like
down.
you guys might be sharing some information, but
All right,
you're
yeah,
on mute.
I'm reading a message to Julie, so disregard. Yeah, thanks. It's not to you.
Shut him down all the way. Just like
So I have a question. I missed part of the meeting, but I was wondering, is this discussion through the BIPOC community, like racial and diversity? I kind of missed some parts to understand what this meeting's about. If someone want to give me a brief a little bit.
Yeah, if you're okay, you guys, I can help brief, or is there someone else who'd like to do that?
Go ahead.
I think I should brief.
Go ahead, Krista.
So Soretti, hey, So, there's been some letters that have happened from DRW and some concerns raised. And one of them was an individual coming to talk about voting rights who felt really shut down in a meeting, saying that, you know, it's important for communities of color. And then they were kind of jumped on and said, you know, but it's not the main priority for a lot of people with disabilities. And it was a really insensitive way to come at somebody. And that person was me that did that. So, as a part of taking ownership of my participation in that, I'm stepping down as the co-facilitator. And I am glad that the meetings are recorded, because very few times do you have the opportunity to step back outside of yourself and actually see when you cause somebody harm and look at it from a different perspective. So that was one specific situation that was brought up. And then there were other situations where just the voices of marginalized groups being included and meaningfully included were brought into question. So DRW was asking for a halt and kind of reassess so that there can be a safer space. And the community today, I think, very much said that, you know, we kind of need to go forward, but there are changes that could be made. And so that's kind of where we're at now, is to make things more accessible, especially to communities of color, and make sure that they're not only included but are comfortable and feel like they can have meaningful participation.
Sounds good.
Yep.
If there's nothing else, I guess we could be done. Totally up to you guys.
Close them down.
And Kristen, thank you for speaking. As somebody who is impulsive and loud, I really appreciate your voice. And yeah, and making that space.
Chris?
Yes, sir.
I'll see you tomorrow at noon.
Yep. Jefferson County. Here we go.
Yep. Yep.
And boy.
This was a very, very good meeting we had today. Good stuff.
Yeah, I think it's a conversation that we needed to have. And it's an important one to air out. And it's good for me too. You know, I have a lot of privilege and opportunity to participate, and it's good to recognize when you misuse that, and what it does to other people when you do that. So I'm glad to be able to have this accountability space, and I hope everybody here will continue to hold me accountable if it's something that I do to you or you see me do to somebody else. You know, that feedback as we're all growing and learning and figuring it out together, right? It's
right on.
It's a process.
Krista, if there's anything I know, it's that we never have arrived, right? We're always on a journey and we're always learning, and we all have stuff. We all have history. We all have wounds. We all have trigger moments. And I have more than one time been the culprit of talking over or, you know, being a too loud voice in a room that doesn't leave enough space for underrepresented voices. So I'm just grateful that you approach this with such humility, and I admire you so much. And all the grace in the world to you, because I'm going to need it someday too. We all will. And so I'm grateful for just your responsible leadership and in the way that you approach this. And I'm sure that we all could look back at these videos and identify moments where we have done similar things, right? And questioning something, because we've been doing this a long time and we think we have some corner on a knowing, right? And so I'm just grateful. I'm grateful for the time I've gotten to work with you and co-facilitating, and I certainly am going to miss our late night conversations. We don't live too far away from each other though, so maybe we can get together IRL.
Yeah, I wanted to echo that, Doreen, and say that there's so many times where, sorry, there's a big truck behind me. There's a lot of times where, as you get so chewed up from a really crappy service system that isn't giving you what your family needs, and you forget and you realize that you are powerless in those spaces, but then you come to this other space and you forget that powerlessness didn't transfer over to this space. In this space, you actually have a lot of power, right? And so anyway, that, all of this is dynamic and we're all learning and growing. And I'm just really grateful for people to come back again and again and give it another try.
I think we should launch a poll on how many people want to go to Adrian's house, because Julie, I'm completely jealous.
That's you, my goodness.
Really nice of you. You should come. Yeah. Julie, what do you think?
Yes. Yes.
Okay, Julie thinks you should come. So
there we go. People first retreat at Adrian's.
I'd welcome that. I'd welcome that. Yeah, absolutely.
And Adrian, as long as you provide transportation, especially somebody that's coming from Seattle.
Okay, well, I'd be committed to figuring it out. So put me on your radar as a great space. It's pretty accessible. Well, I'll ask Julie. What do you think about the accessibility?
Yeah.
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 Okay.
Yeah. Hey, I know your daughter. I know her.
So and the view is pretty lovely as well. So
yeah,
you're welcome anytime. I actually just had Ivanova and Moses at my house a couple weekends ago for a little barbecue. So consider yourselves invited. I'd love to have you over and
if somebody can pick me up, I'll be glad to come over.
All right. Okay, Mike.
And
I have.
Let's get it on the calendar.
I know her. I know your daughter. I've known her for a long time.
Hey, Mike, Julie's just hanging out at Adrian's.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, they're not related.
Oh, I thought that was her.
You thought Julie was my daughter?
Yeah.
You're like 20 or so.
Looking good, young lady.
And also too, like Doreen, tell her about what I call your daughter, Doreen.
I'll tell Speedy you say hi.
Yeah. That's her.
She's a little bit older. Julie confesses she's a little bit older than me. So, but that's she's looking good. But can't deny it. Looking good.
We're not asking your age. Just say you look fabulous, young lady.
You know, when everybody was saying, "Oh, I'm this age," I was like, "You guys are brave." I'm not saying my age. Okay, you all. Well, I'm going to jump off here. Thank you so much. Consider yourselves permanently invited to our home. It's a safe space and a loving space for people of all abilities, all colors, and so on. So please.
One very last thing, sorry to interrupt on the last note there, but this is Eric. And I know we are still in a pandemic, and the cases on the Delta is raising, and it's not, I think it's a great idea to get together, barbecue, have fun. But if you care about your health and care about each other, I suggest that we wait until sometime next year, because of the seriousness around that and the confusion of people choosing to not wear a mask and wear a mask. It's messed up in the state. It's just a fact.
Well, if people hadn't seen, I don't know if it's statewide. I know Thurston County, everybody has to be in masks in public spaces again.
I believe
Snohomish, I know
be in
Snohomish
Washington
County and
State.
in Pierce County as well.
I gotta head to another meeting, you guys. Have a great rest of your day.
Exactly.